Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Series 3, Episode 6, The Lazarus Experiment. Okay, this story I don't think is that popular amongst the fan base, and it's not really one that gets talked about that much. For me, I think this is a good episode. I think it's pretty interesting, pretty enjoyable. The plot centers around Professor Lazarus, played for the first time in the show by played by Mark Gatiss in his first acting appearance in Doctor Who, as he will go on to have a few more acting cameos in the show. It's also notable that he's written for the show in series 1 and 2, and he's going to come back to writing at least one episode a year from series 5 through to 10. Please come back for series 13, Mark. You're a great writer, and considering what the story arc is and how divided the fan base is, we need you. Anyway, so Lazarus Experiment. As I was saying, it revolves around Professor Lazarus, played by Mark Gatiss, as he attempts to create a miracle, as he says, and change what it means to be human by de-aging himself using sonic sound waves to somehow become younger, so about 40 or so years younger, and succeeds despite a malfunction of the machine that the Doctor has to fix. So Lazarus is somehow now in his 40s now, but he is not stabilized, and it turns out he's accidentally unlocked a rejected part of evolution that was hidden away in his genes, and he accidentally unlocked it. So now he's turning into this scorpion creature thing where he now has to feed on people. Whoops. Meanwhile, Martha's family is at the reception party, as Tish is the head of the PR department for Lazarus Laboratories. So they're caught up in all of this, and there's a bit of family drama here. This story also takes place the next day after the events of Smith and Jones. So as far as everybody else is concerned, only 12 hours have passed. This time the Doctor actually succeeded in it being 12 hours instead of 12 months, unlike in Aliens of London. Ow. Yeah, it's probably a good thing they didn't have with Donna a set return date or time. That's probably a good thing. Anyway, so the Doctor and Martha attend the party along with Leo and Francine Jones. Make note, this is probably the most involved Leo is going to get in any of these stories here, when he's just here and gets knocked out for a bit. But yeah, he really doesn't get much to do at all in any episode. I mean, this and the party, and that's about it. In the series, the others get bits to do. We'll see Clive again in the finale. But as for Leo, not really. Tish, on the other hand, gets quite involved in this story and even becomes our third main protagonist, so to speak. And Francine is starting to hear things from a mysterious party guest on behalf of a certain Mr. Saxon. Maybe he won't be such an ally to the Doctor after all. We'll just have to wait and see. And he's whispering things to Mrs. Jones, which of course leads her to the moment where we have the second mother of a companion slapping the Doctor in the show. Thankfully, it didn't become a recurring habit, but companions like Donna, Amy, Clara, and River Song would. Yeah, slapping the Doctor seems to be funny during the Moffat era, and even a bit in the RTD era. Although I think this is the one bit in the RTD era where it's not supposed to be played for laugh, like in Aliens of London or Runaway Bride. But yeah, going back to supporting characters, there isn't a huge amount of supporting characters that are worth mentioning. It's a bit like Shakespeare Code, where they serve Smith and Jones and Shakespeare Code, where they serve their purpose and they're pretty good, but they're not that memorable outside the Jones family. There's Lady Four, Professor Lazarus's partner in both business and romance, or at least she attempts to be anyway. But she doesn't get a huge amount of personality, but we do get what she's about, and then she's the first to die. There's also this other woman who gets killed by Lazarus and two paramedics, but they're not important. Not really. Well, all humans are important, but for the story, they're not that important apart from just to die. They're the red shirts. But yeah, it's not very filled with supporting characters. But that being said, the main characters and Professor Lazarus are handled really well. written really great, and Lazarus is a creepy villain in both human and scorpion form for different reasons. The scorpion form because he's an alien, and the human form because he's a creepy old man who's coming on to women weirdly, and he's a bit rude and unfair. But he's also when he's half mutating, it's quite that's not so nice. Garth Gatiss does a great job in the role, of course, and he's really great as the scorpion creature as well. But he's really great as the human side, and has some really great and character-driven moments, such as when he recites his childhood having to go into Southwark Cathedral, where the climax takes place, which is a pretty it's a good setting. Not sure what the word is, but makes a lot of sense. If that's where he felt safest, is where he ends up passing away in the final battle. Yeah, but most of the story takes place in the Lazarus Labs, and when it does feel like the story does come to a stop, there is still more to go, and that's where we get the climax. Some enjoyable bits. The direction is good here, and there is some good bits where it's deliberately hiding the creature before the big reveal, and it is handled well. I think there is also some good uses of shadows over lighting spots, both with people running past the things as well as also the shadows of the creature. The editing this time round is much better than some of the other stories. I think there is still some pan zoom transition things that I've been complaining about in the last couple of reviews at 1 or 2 points, but I don't think they're as badly noticeable as some other stories that we've had so far. The same could be said for Shakespeare Code and maybe Gridlock, but certainly not as bad as Runaway Bride, Smith and Jones, or Daleks in Manhattan, Evolution of Daleks, actually. But I'll just say the two-parter as a whole anyway. Yeah, it's still handled well, and I think it's a pretty good made episode. I think it's really fun, enjoyable. Also, again, I'm not a scientist, but with the Doctor tampering with a light and then setting on some gas things and then clicking the switches, would that cause a room to explode? Still a really cool image of David Tennant jumping out of the way of an explosion, and probably a practical one at that. So, yeah, pretty cool. So yeah, this is a pretty good episode, and Martha Jones is starting to become more of her own here as well as as we're gradually going through the series. She's starting to become more of her own character, and less in the shadow of Rose Tyler. Again, Daleks in Manhattan brought Rose Tyler up, just like the Shakespeare Codes did a few times, and Smith and Jones did. So it's great to see that she's getting out of the shadow of Rose Tyler more and more each episode. Actually, it wasn't Daleks in Manhattan, it was Evolution of the Daleks. But as we keep going more and more, Martha Jones has become more of her own character, and Free Regiment continues to be doing a great job in the role. And I also like how Tish is involved in this story quite a lot. But unfortunately, I think there are too many members of the Jones family to do adequately, because Leo just gets forgotten about after here, apart from some appearances in the last 2 episodes. But apart from some appearances, he's pretty much forgotten about. And like I said, Clive's not in this one. He's going to pop up in the last 2 episodes, but it's still it might have just worked if it was just Francine and maybe Tish. Maybe it might have worked just there. But it doesn't matter too much. On the whole, the Lazarus Experiment is a very good story and really enjoyable. It's definitely worth another watch. If you aren't so keen on it, I definitely recommend giving it another try. I will be giving this story I was debating whether to give it a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. I think I'm leaning more towards the 8, because it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't think it's a spectacular story, but I think it's a pretty good story. So I'll be giving the Lazarus Experiment an 8 out of 10. I think it's a good story. I think it's very good. I don't think there's much wrong with it. I think a few niggles, but ultimately it's a good story. And I'm not going to say it's one of the best of the series, but this series seems to be getting stronger and stronger. But compared to the previous 2 series, I think the low points of this series are still pretty strong. And that's coming from someone who The weaker ones from the last two series weren't even terrible. They were at worst meh. So yeah, so that's the Lazarus Experiment. After this episode, Doctor Who took a week's off break for Eurovision before coming back with 42. However, we will be continuing the reviews with 42 next time. Then we are going to have an episode's break to then go and do the Infinite Quest, because the Infinite Quest supposedly takes place between 42 and Human Nature. So we'll be reviewing the Infinite Quest between 42 and Human Nature, and then we'll carry on as normal with Human Nature. Before anyone says anything, Infinite Quest doesn't really count as Series 3, even though it's set during this time, even though it was made during the time, but it's not really counted as much as Series 3. And in the ranking, it will be an honourable mention, but not counted as one of the proper episodes. So it's only going to be 10 stories in the ranking instead of 11. And I say it's 10 stories because we got the 3-part finale. Otherwise, it would be 11 stories, 12 including Infinite Quest. But yeah, we will not include Infinite Quest in the ranking. We're just going to take a day out to review that one midway between 42 and Human Nature, and then go back to normal with Human Nature, Family of Blood afterwards, and it will be an honourable mention in the ranking that will cover the other episodes of the series, plus Runaway Bride. Hope that's all okay. So next time, 42. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. Please come back for Series 13, Mark. We need you. Considering where the story arc is going, we need you. Yeah. So, as far as the Doctor and Martha are aware, maybe he won't be such an ally after all. Although other characters, such as Donna and Amy, would, but other characters such as Donna, Amy, and Clara would. And even a bit in the RTD here as well, when it comes from Donna and Runaway Bride. But anyway. Anyway. But yeah, the Jones family. Yeah. Was it Daleks in Manhattan? Yeah, it was Daleks in. Was it Daleks in Manhattan? It was Evolution of the Daleks. But you know, I mean, it does, however, come. It is probably due to what this little set. Actually, I won't talk about that. That's spoilery. But unfortunately, after this point, the whole even if the episodes aren't as good as some of the earlier ones. So that's the Lazarus